right, guys, welcome to a brand new episode of SideQuest Podcast. Listen in and level up. I have a great episode for you today, but first, as always, let's get through the show notes. If you're not following the Facebook page, head over to Facebook, type SideQuest Fitness into the search bar, and like the page. There, you're going to get updates on podcast episodes, articles when they get posted, and you're going to get a brand new taco recipe every Tuesday for taco camp. Plus lots of other shenanigans and nerd talk throughout the week, so make sure you head over to Facebook. You can follow me on Instagram. My handle is SideQuestFM. If you want to see some cool videos and random stuff on Instagram as well, you can follow me on Instagram, same handle, SideQuestFM, or follow me on Snapchat, SideQuestFit. Follow me there. Send me your questions. I want to get all the questions from you, help you as much as I can on your fitness journey or your journey in life, whatever it may be. But head over to Snapchat, SideQuestFit. Follow me there. You get a little more personal, in-depth look at the shenanigans I get into throughout every day. But I do love getting questions from the community, so please send them out to me. If you have not left a review for the podcast, please head over to iTunes. If you're not listening on iTunes and you're listening on SoundCloud or Stitcher, leave a review there as well. When you leave reviews, it helps me move up the charts on the iTunes store so that more people can see and hear the amazing guests that I've had on and have on each and every single week. So make sure you head over there. And don't forget, if you haven't picked up your copy of the 7 Principles of Fat Loss, head over to sidequestfitness.com/7 principles, and you can pick up your copy of the 7 Principles of Fat Loss. These are the same 7 principles I follow each and every day and teach my clients to help them shred away more body fat, unlock heroic strength, and just look better naked. So if you want to unlock strength or just look better naked in the mirror, head over again, grab those 7 principles of fat loss, and start following those today. What's up, guys? Welcome to the show. So over the last few months, you have heard me talking about my online clients, and you've heard from a few of my online clients as well about what they've done on their fitness quest with me. With summer heading in, I am taking a few more clients on to help people get ready for summer, help you get ready for bikini season or swimsuit season, or maybe this is your first time. Maybe you've decided that that's it. You want to get in shape, and you need someone to help you with your journey. On your journey, you need a Gandalf and a Samwise to guide you as you head into Frodo. And I am your Gandalf and Samwise, all packed in to one. I am taking on a few more clients. If you are interested, head over to sidequestfitness.com/coach and check out the page. You can apply there. You can find out more about what coaching entails and also see some of the amazing transformations that my clients have had while working with me. So head over to sidequestfitness.com/coach and apply today. All right, guys, welcome to the show. I have a great show for you today. I know I have been lagging and getting content out via the podcast, but I've been super busy at my internship this summer at Mark Fisher Fitness in New York City. So I've had a lot going on and filming video as well. So a whole lot of things going on, but I have a brand new podcast up for you today. My good friend, Jay Ashman. I got to meet Jay at the Fitness Summit in Kansas City in May. And Jay is an amazing human being. I really love Jay and all the work that he does. And he's just a great guy to hang around with. So we're going to hop into this episode, and Jay and I are going to dive deep. We're going to talk about fitness. We're going to talk about deep emotional things that men in their 30s can do to make their 40s the best, and a whole lot about relationships. Here we go.
Step up and you gotta get it fitness. Host Rob at the moment and the quest is you gotta check it and wreck it. You're breaking personal records, and with the help of the guests you won't be guessing on the lessons. That's a +5 fierce. Got a low-key bamf right here. You wanna meet him, there's no better way to greet him than to strike a boss pose. Take a look into the mirror.
All right, guys, welcome to the show. I have a great guest for you today. He's a wonderful gentleman I got to meet at the Kansas City Fitness Summit. Got to return again to the Fitness Summit this year. Got a chance to meet Jay and just really enjoyed who he was as a person, just who he was as a coach, and got to know him more online. And he's just beyond a ball of fun, just a really smart, intelligent guy when it comes to fitness and life in general. So the one and only Jay Ashman joins me on the show today. Jay, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing, Robbie?
Pretty good, man.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, always looking for new guests that maybe people have never heard of, and expand the world of the fitness industry to my listeners. But Jay, I gotta ask. Doing some research and looking into articles and things. One of the things you said about yourself in your About Me section is doing hipster things or pretending to be hipsters. So I gotta know, what's the most hipster thing you do?
Shit. I got to think about this one for a second. I mean, I would probably say eating a chickpea is pretty damn hipster. But, well, pretty much. It's kind of a running joke between my wife and I. We just got married, actually, literally about, 17 days ago. So we're pretty much newlyweds. So I guess we both like food a lot. We're both kind of foodies. She's a bit more foodie than I am. So let's start going back and forth to Kansas City, where she lived. We always find little eclectic restaurants and little coffee shops and little microbrews to drink at. So it became like a running joke. We're basically Jack and Can hipsters. So that's why that little hipster thing came around. We both enjoy what hipsters have. I mean, their restaurants are great. Their coffee's great. Their beer is great. I mean, they're amazing. So we kind of just embrace that whole hipster culture without actually being hipsters.
That's... what's so funny about like the hipster culture is like I remember being in New York the first time I lived here, and I'm here for the Mark Fisher Fitness internship right now. But like being there, like when being a hipster was like kind of starting to come up, and like going to Williamsburg and seeing people drink like PBR, and they're drinking like PBR as if it's cool. And I'm like, guys, that's the shit we drank in college because it was $1. Like, this doesn't make you cool.
Yeah, I'm not sure PBR was ever really cool. I think they thought it was cool for a while, but it's never really that good idea to drink PBR. I mean, back when I lived in New York, we had a bar in Brooklyn we used to go to. You could buy a PBR for $1 a can.
Yeah.
So back then, I think they drank it, they were cheap, and it was easy. Now, going to a bar and having $1 beer in New York is pretty rare. So
yeah, it is.
I mean, actually, really rare is actually the word I'm looking for. Not just pretty rare, but really rare.
So, Jay,
nevertheless,
you've been all over the place, man. Like, you've lived in New York, you've lived in Kansas City now, Oklahoma City. What's the one city in the U.S. or even in the world that like you haven't lived in yet, but like you really would love to spend more than just like a week or two for vacation?
I would definitely say Sydney, Australia. Without a doubt. I mean, from what I keep reading about it and seeing about Sydney and friends that have been there, I mean, I got to be there for a while. I would love to. Obviously, that's not going to be in the cards, because I have obligations here and, being married, all that kind of prevents living overseas for, just 7 months at a time. But nevertheless, if I can choose one place to go, it would be Sydney.
All right.
Definitely my background in rugby and the fact that it's, a gorgeous city full of pretty cool people. I think it'd be pretty incredible to live there.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to be like in a place in June when it's winter and be like, wait, what? My brain is completely like, it's like having breakfast for dinner. Your brain's like, whoa, hold on, wait, what are you doing?
I think it'd be ideal to travel over there for winter and you live back here in summer, I guess you could say. So it's pretty much year round.
Yeah.
You always have some sort of a warmth.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that'd be great. I mean, because could you imagine that? It's 6 months of the year living here and you're warm. 6 months of the year living here and you're warm. I mean, shit. We can't get better than that. It's like, let's say, living in San Diego year round.
Oh, God, dude. Oh, man. That was like just sun the entire week. I don't think it rained the almost week I was there. It was gorgeous.
San Diego's absolutely beautiful. Absolutely out there.
Yeah.
I was there for a few months several years ago because I had an uncle out there who lived near a Navy base. So we went out there one summer and the East Coast. I grew born and raised in Philadelphia. I lived in New York for a while. East Coast, you get this pretty hot and humid summer, so I'm expecting it to be the same way in San Diego. Nah, not even close. It's like 85 degrees, 90 degrees, nice cool breeze. It's like July and August. It's like, Jesus Christ, this place is fucking amazing. Why can't I live here? Now I'm like a 14-year-old kid with enough sense to realize why I live is screwed up. I'm like, how can we be so goddamn hot and humid and San Diego is so damn beautiful? I'm like, what is this all about?
Yeah.
So, I mean, but of course, when you're a kid, you're idealistic. You're not thinking like, oh yeah, the rent, what's the cost to live here? Oh, $2,000 a month of rent for, half of an apartment? Nah, maybe not. But then I live in New York, so go figure that one out. Talk about high prices of living in New York. That's nuts.
Oh, dude, it's only gotten more expensive since I left. Until like there's a mass exodus, like, and more than what there is now. Like, I mean, like millions. Like half the population leaves because they're like, "Fuck this, too expensive. I'm out." I can't imagine that like rent will ever really stop increasing because they can keep increasing it and someone's going to pay it.
Well, now they have those micro apartments.
Yeah.
I think they're like, what, a couple hundred square feet?
Yeah.
Or something like that. 250 for square feet, or like $2,000 a month for a micro apartment.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a closet.
Yeah.
I mean, you're literally living in a closet.
Yeah.
That's amazing to me. I mean, I guess you gotta love capitalism in one way, but the other way, you're just like, Jesus Christ, guys, can you actually wake up a little bit and not spend that kind of money in rent?
Well, I think
I'm like,
so this is sort of been my and I won't say struggle, but my thinking on that is like, I've been here for a couple of months with Mark Fisher, and I hated the city when I lived here before because I didn't have a purpose in life. I didn't know what I was doing. I hated waking up every day. Now, the things that used to bother me about the city don't bother me anymore. And it's great because there's always something to do. Like, I have a lot of friends here, more to do than like in BFE, Georgia, where my wife and I have lived for the last 2 years. But it's also like I'm paying more than what we pay in rent for an entire house. And I think about like the internet and how like, doing online coaching, I could live anywhere. So like if you have an internet-based business, why in the hell are you moving to some huge city where your overhead is going to be ginormous? Like I get that they're the opportunity to network and do all of that. And maybe that pays for itself just in having that ability. But it's also like, man, you could move to such a smaller city and pay far less starting out and then move to that later on.
Well, I think the allure New York, and I speak from living there and looking back on it. People romanticize New York in a great deal, and I do it too, where I'll sit there and say, man, it's the best city in America to live. I mean, it really is. I mean, you look at it and say you can go somewhere different every single night and never have the same place twice, probably for about 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
Different restaurant, different bar, different museum, walk through a park, go to a zoo, and you walk around, you look. I mean, I remember my last night in New York before I left for Ohio, to run the gym out there. And I literally I went to myself. I just went to Brooklyn by myself. And I just walked around Brooklyn as much as I could and took it all in. Then I went to Manhattan and walked around a little bit. Just by myself, not just saying, I go to a bar, having a drink, walking around some more, just kind of like getting the whole feel of it again. I'm never going to live there again. Once I left, I'm not going back. But one of the reasons why I left is because I had an opportunity in Ohio that, I kind of jumped on, number one. And number two, the cost of living there, to me, didn't justify what I was doing. I couldn't see myself paying the amount of money per month I was paying to live. And I was working my ass off.
Yeah.
So, but then when I left, I'm like, man, I miss it. It's great. There's the shows, the Broadway shows, the bars, the people. I mean, I bounced in clubs. I hung out with celebrities. I mean, it's just stuff that happened. That stuff that you don't happen to you, like living in a regular city. Living in New York, it happens. You can walk by the street and you walk by Jessica Biel. And you don't even bat an eye because it's normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't see that shit in Georgia. You don't see that shit in Kansas City.
No, and if you do, it's like people are freaking out and
they're freaking the fuck out. Like, oh my God, Jessica Biel! And you're like, yeah, whatever. I saw her yesterday, big deal.
Yeah, whatever. She lives in my neighborhood. So Jay, when you were in New York and you lived here, was there a celebrity that you freaked out about when you saw walking down the street?
I'm trying to think. The only person I ever actually got, I would say, a little bit starstruck over, even a little bit, was Harvey Keitel.
I mean, all right, that's a damn good celebrity to get starstruck over.
And it was the funniest thing. How it was weird because I was actually at the Broadway show Cats.
Yeah.
Before it ended its run at Winter Garden Theater back in the day, and he was sitting right in front of me. So me and my mom were there. This is how long ago this was. Because actually, me and my mom went. Not that we wouldn't go now, but she lives in South Carolina now. So we got up intermission, and all of a sudden he did like a sideways turn, and I was like, "Holy shit, the Harvey Keitel!" So I looked at him. I said, "Hey, Mr. Keitel, I'm a huge fan of your work. My God, it's so cool to meet you." And then I realized how fucking short he is. So I had this theory all the time because I've seen other celebrities in person, like Pitbull, all that kind of stuff, and all these guys, and Tom Cruise actually kind of ran into a crowd that he was in, a Scientology event. That's a whole other story. But he was short. You guys are all short. So I'm thinking to myself, why are these guys so damn short? But they didn't want to play sports in high school, but they couldn't because they were so small. So they decided to act to get laid. It's just fine what it is. But nevertheless, so he was a nice guy. He did it with his daughter. So we started talking to me for a minute, and we started talking about baseball. Apparently, he's a big baseball fan. So next thing you know, then the show came back on, and we sat back down, and obviously never saw him again. I was starstruck for a moment. I was like, "Holy shit, Harvey Keitel!" I mean, he's a man. Other than that, now I ran into like other celebrities. It was no big deal, and sometimes you don't even say hi. You kind of let them go about their lives. They're just like me and you. They just happen to have a job that paid them a lot of money.
Yeah, and that gets them some sort of attention, in the public more than others.
Yeah, it's just so. I guess I can understand. I can't relate to that. I never can. Obviously you can't. But I can understand they want to be left alone to a certain extent because they're always in the public eye. Every time you turn around, when something comes out with them, they're being, photographed or the paper or whatever. Obviously, depending on your level of celebrity. Harvey Keitel won't be harassed, because he's not going to be Kim Kardashian, obviously. But he's with his daughter, so I'm not going to. I'm sure he wants to be left alone to a certain extent. But nevertheless, I don't want to go up a random person and be like, "Oh my God, a random celebrity, you're dinner with your family. Do you mind if I bug you for your autograph and a picture?" I'm not that kind of asshole.
Yeah.
So if I see somebody out like that, I'll just kind of look and say to myself, "Oh shit, that's so and so," and then I'll just move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. So that's the beauty of New York. I think people get that.
Yeah. I've seen people in my time. When I lived here before, and it was like right when he was kind of starting to get big, and I think right after Louis had come out, I was working at a hardware store, like a very upscale hardware store on the lower east side of the island, and Louis C.K. walked in. And it took everything for me not to like go up and be like, "Hey, Louis, I'm a huge fan. Like, I just love your work." But I was like, he's shopping. Like, I don't want to be an asshole. Like, I don't think he would mind. I think he'd be fine with that. Like, he seems like that kind of guy. But it's also like he's shopping for cabinet knobs, like for his like kitchen. Like, I'm not gonna bug him while he's here. I'm gonna let him do his thing.
It's like, "Oh my God, I have your autograph. Hey, can I help you?"
Yeah.
It's like stuff like that.
Yeah. Sir, I need you to sign here for your credit card. Okay. Oh, actually, I need you to sign again. Wait, I just signed. Yeah, the first one was an autograph for me.
How about a selfie? How about that? He's like, no.
Yeah. So during our chat there, you brought up what city you'd want to live in. You mentioned Sydney, Australia, your rugby career. What got you into rugby, Jay? It's a sport that is growing in the U.S., but it's always been behind football, and most Americans just kind of look at it as like a weird, unpadded version of football.
Yes.
But what brought you to rugby?
Well, actually, I had an NFL workout back in the mid-'90s that a buddy of mine hooked up for me. And I didn't make it, obviously. I had a pretty good workout. I ran pretty decent speed. Bench press was good. Everything was great. I just didn't make it. No excuses. It wasn't good enough. So the local rugby team where I lived, Reading Rugby in Pennsylvania, they kept harassing me to play. And at that time, I was like, I'm not going to go out there and get my ass kicked for no money. You know, because really, that's what it's all about. You're getting the shit beat out of you for you're not getting paid for it.
Yeah.
I mean, so back then I didn't want to do that. So after about a year of them harassing me, I finally started playing. And then my first year, I sucked. I mean, because I'm trying to go from football to rugby, there's a dramatic change. People may think it's very similar, but it's really not, because first of all, you're running 80 minutes a game. You're not taking timeouts. You're not taking breaks. There's no stoppage of play like that. There's no time clock for, you know, from downs and shit like that. It's pretty much constant action. So as a guy who was relatively big, that's a wake-up call. So number one. Number two, the tackling is a lot different. You can't just go in and spear somebody or nail them. You got to wrap them up. You got to bring them to the ground. You have to be safe about it. Now, tackling can be safe, obviously, but you have to be safer. So I started getting into it and started falling. And my thing was to actually learn how to play the sport and do well at it. I started doing it better and better and better. And then moved to New York and played for the Long Island Rugby Club. You know, out in Long Island, obviously, and that was Division One club. Ended up starting for them, and then took a chance, and I went to Old Blue, the Superleague club, back when it was called Superleague in New York, and I played for them for a couple of years before stopping. So essentially, it was just like about 8-9 years of solid playing, and I never actually had a major injury, miraculously. You know, I've had broken bones and stuff like that, but I never had anything like no ligaments damage. You know, I had a few concussions. That's pretty much par for the course for rugby. But I've kind of been lucky in that respect. You know, I would say now I definitely feel it. At 42 years old, I definitely feel it more disease. You know, but that's just the way it goes. So I kind of got into it by not playing. I kind of got into it by failing at football, I guess you could say.
All right. So Jay, as you were learning this new sport and got into it and played it for a while, and this is just something I've always sort of wondered about rugby, because I think it is. I mean, obviously, like you said, like there's no stoppage of play. It is a very demanding game that many football players probably would struggle to learn to play. Soccer players might be all right because there's really no stoppage.
Soccer players are all right. That's just, when I used to recruit for the local Reading Rugby team, that was the thing they said: go recruit soccer players.
Yeah, because
you can teach them how to tackle, but the running part they have down.
Right. Is there something in rugby that like any athlete, just like maybe getting into a rugby club and playing, like something that rugby could teach an athlete, either in football or any other contact sport, that like they can't learn anywhere else but in rugby?
Oh shit, that's a tough one. I mean, any other sports skill? Well, I think pretty much most sports skills are, or I should say, physical skills are in sport. So you're not going to. I mean, obviously, tackling is one thing that rugby does very well, but football is catching on. Some sports or some team will learn how to tackle the rugby players for safety reasons. So I can't say that. I can't say the running part because they run a lot in soccer. You know, one thing I will say is the brotherhood of rugby is really unique. Like, I have played a lot of sports, and I have never seen a sport like rugby with the camaraderie of it. It's unbelievable. I mean, you can go anywhere. You go anywhere you want in the country and in the world. And if you see a rugby player and you're a rugby player, you go, "You play rugby?" He's like, "Yeah." Next thing you know, you're like best friends immediately. I mean, I'm not even exaggerating. I mean, I've played in other countries.
Yeah.
And they will put you up at their house and you don't pay a dime. They'll take you to the bars. You don't pay for anything. That's how it is. I mean, after every single game, they have a mandatory drink up. You know, so after the game, two teams beat the crap out of each other, and then go to the bar and they have beer, they eat food, and they sing songs. And it's a tradition that American rugby teams in the club variety do a pretty good job of keeping tradition alive. Because I remember when we would go to the bar for it, we would sing stupid songs.
Yeah. And
we would drink beer, have fun, like shoot the boot. You know, it wasn't like the player of the game or the rookie who scored a point or something like where would we pick? They have a drink beer out of somebody's rookie shoe. So it's a tradition that we kind of kept alive in America that they've been doing in other countries for a long time. That's the one thing that's really hard to find in any other sport like that. Because 9 times out of 10 for a football game, you go to a locker room, you might go out with a few of the teammates to a bar, but you won't have that entire team going to a bar. It's just a different feel. And it's one thing that really draws people to rugby that they like a lot. And I think most players, ex-players have also said too, you can't find that anywhere else. And it'd be kind of cool to see other sports adopt that. I think it would definitely create a better playing environment overall.
Do you think that, like, I mean, obviously you're competitive on the field, but like you come together at the end to enjoy that. Do you? I wonder about like football players in that, and I just think football, and I even think like basketball. Like, what if LeBron and them had like gone to the bar afterwards, like with everyone and enjoyed, or is it just that like those sports that we love in America are just far too competitive? Like, there's so much money on the line that like for rugby, like
I think it's a money factor.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a money factor. I mean, that and the professionals. I mean, plus LeBron, LeBron just can't. LeBron couldn't just walk into a bar because he'd be, my God, imagine what happened to him then. People are like, oh my gosh, LeBron. Yeah. Let me get a selfie. Let me get your autograph. Let me tattoo my arm with your name on it. Something like that. That's what would happen. So people, I get what you're saying now. I mean, the theory behind it would be ideal. That way you can have a lot more, and they probably hang out a lot in the off season. They share his houses and whatever. They probably do things together. But I mean, it's something I just don't know about. So I'm obviously not an NBA player, but you never know if they do. But I just think, I mean, it's a different dynamic. Like after the game, like hanging out with the guy you just got them beating up for an hour, or beating you up for an hour. I mean, I learned a lot of shit about rugby just from the bars. I remember one game, one prop was kicking the living crap out of me. I mean, I was kind of new to the sport. He was dominating me in the field. I mean, he was during the scrums. I couldn't do a damn thing, and he was older than me by about 10, 12 years and smaller. At that time, I thought that I'm a big, strong dude. I'm going to beat everybody's ass. It didn't work that way. He just made me look stupid. So after the game, we were having a few beers. I kept talking. I'm like, dude, what did you do to do this to me? So he's basically explained to me a bunch of tricks of the trade. He was telling me how to angle my body, how to position my head, how to come in with a scrum properly to make the guy, jump up a little bit. So I got a lesson in rugby playing from a guy that was beating me up during the game at the bar over beer. Dude, so that was kind of cool. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean that's something that I don't think you would really get from anyone in the sport who isn't one on your team or like two, that you're going to compete against.
Right.
That's that brotherhood that you talk about. Is that like it's more than just people trying to be the best all the time. Like, you want to play the best, so let me teach you how to be better. Let's make this game more enjoyable and more challenging. Let me make you better. Which is, one thing that I've really seen in the fitness industry in and of itself is that, like, especially with the people that I've gotten to know, many of the people at the fitness summit, like, especially as a writer, like many of them are like, no, let me, I want to help make you better, because the better you get, the more, I have to be better, and the more everyone else has to be better. And right. I think that's something that I assumed that when you got into the world, it was all dog eat dog. And no one, who was successful would really want to help other people, but that's the complete opposite of what I've seen.
Well, I think what we see in the internet world seems that way a lot of times, but when you get in the real world, like the fitness summit, I mean, you're meeting people from all fitness walks of life, and it's definitely refreshing.
Yeah. Yeah. Jay, a couple more questions before we go into to the more fun, ridiculous things.
Jesus.
So I've been doing.
That'll be good.
I've been doing this. I've got this challenge going on, what I call "Make Your 30s Better Than Your 20s" 30-day challenge for men who are in their 30s, and a couple are in their 40s. Looking to finally take charge of their health and fitness and get back to where they were maybe in their 20s, or where they were before. They got into drinking nothing but beer in college and just got fat and lazy, if you will. But you are now in your 40s. You're 42. What would you tell men in their 30s about making their 30s the best decade possible?
You stop drinking so goddamn much. Number one. I mean, dude, I did a bar for 9 years. So I kind of speak from a point of experience here, is that it's amazing. I was a bounce for a long time. It's amazing people go to the bar and get drink. They're like, they'll think, oh my God, Monday through Friday, I'm cool. I'm going to get fucked up Friday night. I'm getting fucked up Saturday night. Now I realize, like, dude, you're basically going backwards now, because you're getting that drunk Friday, Saturday night. Now, of course, we're going to say not all men, hashtag whatever, fuck them. But a lot of people out there in 30s and 20s, they really like to go out and get trashed in the weekends and have too much of a good time. So you got to keep that shit in check. The best thing they can do, because a lot of these guys you'll see in the gym during the week. Like, you'll see them in the gym. They're out there getting the lift on, they're doing cardio, they're eating somewhat decently, and then the weekend, it's like a free-for-all. So that'd be the one thing I would tell people right off the bat is, like, stop treating the weekend like it's a free game.
Yeah. Just
keep yourself in check a little bit. Go have a couple drinks, have fun, but then cut yourself off and have water or have some seltzer. Do what you got to do. You don't need to have that 25th vodka and tonic. It's not that important. It's not that important to get fucked up.
Yeah.
I mean, because I did the same thing. I mean, once I stopped drinking, I lost like 25 pounds almost immediately.
Yeah, and how much money did you save?
Well, I didn't really buy much. I bought in a bar, so what the hell did I buy?
Oh, that's true.
I mean, you don't buy too much, but I would say once I I did buy stuff once in a while. I probably saved a lot of money. I mean, I can't really quantify it because I don't really know, but I would imagine I saved quite a bit of money. I would still have alcohol at home. I would still go out other places to drink. But I just don't know what I spent because I was so drunk half the time. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I can tell you when I stopped drinking, it was like a night and day revelation. I mean, even now I'll have like one or two drinks and I'm done. And then I go out, then I'll see people here and there. I'm very observant of that, how drunk they get. And I think to myself, man, how often at the bar doing this? Because I know from my experiences working in bars that you see a lot of people every single weekend doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So that would be the one thing I tell people: don't drink so much.
All right.
Cut it back.
All right. So let's we're going to take a break from the deep questions. Let's go into some fun stuff. Jay, if you could go anywhere in a time machine, where would you go?
Oh, anywhere.
Anywhere.
Man, anywhere. That'd be kind of tough. I wouldn't mind hanging out with Elvis, actually. I would say the 50s.
All right. What's your so speaking of Elvis, what's your favorite Elvis track?
Favorite Elvis track?
Yeah.
I can't stop falling in love with you. I mean, I don't know. I'm a hopeless romantic. That song is very awesome to me. So I kind of got to go with that one. But there's so many different Elvis songs. I mean, that are just like Blue Suede Shoe, Love Me Tender. I mean, definitely would be cool to hang out with that guy even for a day, just to see the kind of reaction he elicits in people. Not so much to talk to the guy, but to actually just hang out and watch the world from his shoes for a moment. I mean, because he was a star among stars back then. So I think that most of his catalog is amazing, honestly, except for his acting. He can't act for shit. But
that's true.
Oh my God, it was some terrible movies. But singing, he was gold.
All right. Jay, if you could go to any store and max out your credit card, what store would you max your credit card out at?
It would have to. Oh, that's another tough one. That's something I don't think about too often. What store? Does it count to say Amazon? Or that doesn't really count? All right.
I mean,
that's too. That's too much for cop out. That's a cop out. But I would say the store that I'll have to say the Apple store. Every time I walk in there, I always find 4 or 5 things that I want. And I can never justify to myself spending $2,000 for a MacBook.
Yeah.
But I'd have to say the Apple store. So I'm kind of I could definitely go in there and max it out a few times. I mean, not much in there, but I'll probably get like the nicest MacBook, maybe a desktop, maybe every headphone they have. This I can have them if I always lose my shit. So I would have to say that. It's kind of an easy store. But we have a store here called Bunker as well. It's a local Kansas City store downtown that is very unique. Where they have a lot of local KC craft, like local KC, like clothing lines, and it's kind of like a it's kind of like a very cool Spencer's Gifts.
Okay. All right.
Without being as cheesy and shitty, I guess you could say. So think of like a boutique Spencer's.
A boutique Spencer's.
But but they actually have really cool shit.
Yeah.
They have hats. They carry Nixon watches, which, by the way, are amazing watches. Right. And they have their entire line of Nixon watches there, and every single watch. So they have Ray-Ban glasses. They have these cool ass shoes. They have boots. They have clothing. There's everything like that. And it's all nice stuff that a millennial, 30-something, 40-something-year-old guy would want to buy. So if I could say max on a credit card there, I would do that in a heartbeat.
All right.
I go in there at least twice a week to walk around trying to buy shit. I just put down, I'm like, no, I'll meet it right now.
You know what, Jay? I think you and I are very similar in that. I like to go into stores. Like when I was a teenager, I would go in the stores and like try on like jeans or t-shirts or like a shirt I wanted, and I'd be like, okay, when that goes on sale, like 50% off, I'm coming back to get it. And I would just try on outfits and then leave, and then just like keep a mental note to like see when it was going to go on sale, so I could save $10 or $15.
Oh, definitely. I did that. I did that on Saturday in there.
Yeah.
We walked in, me and my wife, and wanted to buy something. She wanted to buy something. And so they have a Nixon watches, and they have a Star Wars collection of Nixon watches. And I'm a huge Star Wars fan. So the Star Wars collection is a very classy design line of Nixon watches that actually resembles things from the movie. But they do it in a way where they make the watch still look really classy and not shitty. Because, it's not like a big picture of Vader in the background. It's very subdued.
Yeah.
So they have this one watch. I have a one watch there. So I tried it on. I said to the guy, "Can you open the cabinet for me? I'm going to try this on." So I put it on. It was a $700 watch. So I'm looking at it. I'm like, man, it's a really nice watch. I'm like, I could buy this right now. Now I'm like, no, you don't spend $700 on a fucking watch. Are you out of your mind? So I'm like, all right, thank you. I'll wait. So I'm like, why just make this guy open the cabinet up for me to look at the watch and like touch it and then put it back? It was kind of like teasing you. I'm like you're teasing yourself.
Yeah.
Because in your head you're not going to buy it, but you really want to like it a lot, so you hate yourself for not buying it. But then you look at the price tag, you're like, no, I shouldn't buy that, but you really want it. It's just a constant battle in your head. Ultimately, usually you win out. You don't buy a watch. But it's almost like, how far could you push yourself before you give in?
Well, knowing that they have a Star Wars collection, I'm going to have to look these watches up online. And I'm glad to hear you're a big Star Wars fan, Jay. If you could have any color lightsaber, any color at all, what color would your lightsaber be?
Pink, without doubt. It's not even a question, dude. Pink would be awesome. Could you imagine that rolling a battle with a pink saber?
Like a big
dudes like have red, the color of evil, and you're like, yeah, what's up, motherfucker? I got pink. Let's do this. And honestly, I think Kylo Ren would be a lot cooler with a pink saber. It would fit his whole emo image.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. Jay, so speaking of that, I'm hoping for good things out of episode 8. It looks interesting. I feel like I still don't know a lot that's going on. But I've been really, really glad that they kind of distanced themselves sort of from the prequels with like The Force Awakens. They didn't really touch on like any of that stuff. But is there a character from the folklore, from the lore of Star Wars that you would love to see get their own movie?
Oh, well, I know Han Solo is getting his own movie apparently. So I would have always said Han, because I think he's a very intriguing character, like how he became Han Solo. Because they don't really tap into too much of his, because where Luke and Leia came from.
Yeah.
I mean, everything like that. So that's kind of the whole idea of the movie. But you don't really have any idea where Han Solo came from. So I think him getting his own movie is a definite plus. That's the one guy I would have said. But being that they have one about him now, or making one about him now, I don't know. I would say Chewbacca, but he didn't really speak a word of English. They can't have a movie with a bunch of guys going the whole time. It's not going to really do much, because you don't really know. I mean, that's not going to happen. But I would, because I would say Obi-Wan, but where Obi-Wan came from too. I mean, they did the whole thing with him in the lore. Yeah. That's kind of a tough call. I mean, who would I think? You know what? Maybe the Emperor. Obviously, I think it's cool. I mean, I was a Star Wars fan. It'd be cool for me to see, but thinking about business-wise, what Hollywood would want to have, the Emperor wouldn't sell. But for me, I'm a selfish dick like that. I would say, I want a movie about the Emperor. I want to know what brought the Emperor in, like how he became up in politics, how he got his power-hungry ways. Not so much that we know he was already evil in the lore, and he pretty much just said, all right, I'm going to ship for the Emperor now and be this total dickhead. But what transitioned him from being this young, idealistic politician into this raging tyrant? Or was he always that way and just kind of faked it the whole way? So for me, that'd be kind of cool to learn about.
So almost like a Star Wars House of Cards?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, was he always Donald Trump? Or was he somebody else? So I try to touch on too much politics anymore, but I had to get that one in there a little bit.
That's fine. In all honesty, like when I think about that, and sort of in my head, because they went back and Rob Zombie did Halloween and like really told you the story of where Mike Myers came from. I don't know if I want to know where the Emperor came from, because it makes me feel for him in some way. Like, I just want to know, like, he's just this big bad dude you're not supposed to like, as opposed to like, I mean, I personally, I connect to the Sith more than the Jedi, because I believe the Sith code is far more powerful for living life and accomplishing your goals than the wimpy Jedi code. But that's just me.
Plus, I agree with you there. But that's the whole 48 Laws of Power book. I mean, although I don't really follow that book word for word, because I mean, you have to be a real shithead to do that. But the whole idea behind it, and it's kind of aligned with the Sith code. Yeah.
I don't know. I like, it would be interesting. The Han movie, and my listeners know this, I won't go see it. I won't go see it because Harrison Ford is Han Solo. I don't want to see anyone else playing that role. You know, it's like if they redid Indiana Jones, like, I don't want to see. Yeah. I like, not now. Like, I don't want to see that. And even
I agree with you. I agree with you there. I definitely agree with you. However, to me, I look at it and say, all right, she's a young Han Solo, so it kind of makes it okay. In my eyes, justification.
I mean, I can see that justification. I don't know. I just listen. Harrison Ford is my man crush. Like, if there were one man that would, like, that's it. I would Harrison Ford, Sean Connery, those two would be like, all right, that's it. I'm flipping for you guys.
I gotta go with George Clooney in this one. I gotta do Clooney.
Okay.
And he's like, I actually had we had a discussion several years ago, and I work at a place in Ohio, and I free people out by saying that. I'm like, George Clooney is a fucking handsome man. And they were like, what? I'm like, dude, you don't tell me you look at that guy and you don't think he's a good looking dude? And they're looking at me like I'm weird, a bunch of guys. And now I knew what was happening. They were getting kind of a little homophobic. Yeah. Because they're like kind of weirded out if I called a guy attractive. And I said, dude, then I took it one step further. I'm like, yeah, I'm telling you what, man, if I saw George in front of me, I would suck his dick so good. And they looked at me and they just like freaked the fuck out. And I'm like, you guys are idiots. I'm like, you can't call a man attractive without thinking you're gay? Yeah. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
So that running joke became George Clooney being my man crush. And he actually is. I mean, he's a good looking dude. He's married to a woman who's way cooler than him. Yeah. And he's okay with that. He's cool with that.
Yeah. Dude, he's like, he's just, there's a well, and I'm going to use dapper just because it's from Old Brother, Where Art Thou? But he's a very dapper looking guy no matter what. Like, he can dress in like in the clothes from like the 20s, and he still like looks like, you know, a handsome, attractive man. He can, unfortunately, he had to play Batman in a really shitty movie. But you know, he's a versatile actor, and
that was such a bad movie.
Yeah. But he's just like, he's an attractive man, and there's nothing wrong. Like, listen, Jay, we all started lifting weights because at some point in our life, we were like, I want to look like Arnold. Like, what we said that in our head when we started picking up dumbbells. Why is it so, like, why are men so afraid to be like, listen, that's a handsome dude. Like, if I wish I had the looks like that, like, nothing wrong with that.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, you're right, though. I mean, in Old Brother, Where Art Thou? He looked like he could fit in with the 20s. The whole era, he could blend right in. Yeah. And he can blend in a black tie and a tuxedo with his hair normal. I mean, he has that look that transcends generations. Yeah. Just something about the way his look is. Yeah. And that's kind of like, that's that Robert Redford allure, I think it is, what I call it. Where It's like Robert Redford, the same thing back when he was in his heyday, where he had that look that could transcend across generational lines. And George Clooney's the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of a rare, lack of a better word, that's kind of a rare beauty, I guess you could say.
There's not a lot of guys that I think can do that, you know, in the world today as actors. Yeah. It's not easy.
There's really not. I mean, I know I can't do that. I mean, I'm not saying I'm an ugly guy, but I'm not no fucking George Clooney.
Yeah.
You know, no way. Yeah. I mean, Brad Pitt probably, you know, to a lesser degree, he definitely can.
Yeah.
You know, but that's the way it is. I think it's like, that's kind of funny. I think, but I thought George Clooney might be a good Han Solo. No, I'll take that back because you're gonna get pissed off now. Because you're Harrison Ford man crush. We'll have a man crush battle: George versus Han.
You know what? I think that's a question you ask because you know George is getting a little gray in the hair. Like you ask some older women. Like my wife still, like we were watching Wonder Woman and they had the preview on for Blade Runner and Harrison Ford comes on the screen and she just goes, God damn it, why does he get sexier with like every time I see him? And I'm like, agreed. And he's like, but he's got that, but now he's like that silver fox, you know, and like George Clooney kind of has a little bit of that silver fox going on. So, you know, what would, how would that work out? Who would women pick as more attractive and more rugged? Because they're both kind of rugged looking guys, or can be.
Yeah.
So Jay, you know, you just recently got married. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
You got married on what, like 2 weeks ago, June 7th.
June 7th, yes.
Cool. So I'm in the Facebook group that you're in, and you guys, you know, it is dump, pump, and hump. Pump, dump, and hump. Pump, dump, and hump. And I enjoy that you you talk about fitness and you talk about, you know, life and mentality, and you also talk about sex, because it's like that's something that a lot of people don't talk about. And I'll admit, like I've always been just slightly weird and awkward talking about sex, like growing up, just because like it wasn't something that, like, I grew up in a very religious household, so like you didn't really talk about those things. Like those things are very, very private. But as I've gotten older, I'm like, man, screw that stuff. Like we all have sex. Like sex drives like all of our interactions. Like no matter what we do, like everything is driven by sex. But as you've gotten older, and this is something that I want to see maybe that could help men in my audience as well, and maybe myself. What's one thing, you know, as you've gotten older, one tip that you'd give to any man to improve sex with their partner?
This tip. Occasion. I mean, really, people think of something physical and not realizing that the mentality that you possess manifests in the physical very quickly. Well, if you communicate with your spouse or your partner or whatever the hell it is, what you want, and you actually have the confidence to communicate that effectively, and communication comes from confidence. Mm-hmm. So everything ties in together, because you can't communicate effectively if you're not confident. There's no way, like you can't get in front of a crowd of 150 people and speak to them and communicate effectively if you're not confident in what you are, what you're delivering. Yeah. So that's common sense. And the same thing goes for sex. Like you're not going to be able to communicate to your partner what feels good, what you want, if you're not confident enough to do that. So we can always say confident, but confidence is kind of a cop-out, because you can be confident and still suck at communicating.
Yeah.
You know, so, but communication is really important. Like if something feels good, it's like, oh, I like when you touch me there, or this feels great, or tell them, verbalize what you want. Say, you know, let's do this, let's try this, let's have fun with this, or something like that. It all comes out of communication, because once you communicate better, you become more vulnerable. And then vulnerability is a really big key to passion.
Yeah. Because
once you're vulnerable and you trust somebody in that respects, then you become more confident. Again, it's this perpetuating cycle. So, and it's stuff that I made mistakes on a lot of times in my life, because I never had, like your position either, I never had anybody teach me stuff. There was no parental guidance. It was no, like, this is what sex is. It was everything I learned on my own. I learned from magazines. I learned from movies. You know, I mean, it wasn't something we discussed in the household. It simply wasn't. And I think that's like our generation is that's the way it was. I mean, I see some parents now changing that with their kids, obviously, and being more open, not discussing like techniques, obviously, but discussing like, this is what sex is. If we're going to do it, this is, you got to be safe, got to be smart kind of thing. Well, I had to learn everything the hard way. So, and communication, one thing that I really learned, and it took me a while to get that because it's hard to put yourself out there and tell your partner, it's like, look, I like when you do this. And some guys get a little weirded out by asking certain things. They might think like, oh, this is weird to ask this. Maybe, does this make me weird? Does it make me different? It's like, no, it's sex. It feels good. Do it. Don't be afraid of it.
Yep.
So definitely communication.
Yeah. I would jump on the whole thing about, you are with your partner, like just ask them, and talk about those things. Like, if it's something that you have always been interested, like just try, like just talk it out and be like, hey, this is a thing. Like it might be something that like I don't like, maybe we don't like, but like, it's like saying, hey, why don't we go try this crazy, Filipino restaurant? And then like you get there and you have dinner and you're like, man, this wasn't really what I like. Like it's, it's all right, but like I don't want to eat here again. Like, is your life over? Did something detrimental happen? Like, no, like you're right. Sex is about communication, but it's having the confidence to have that conversation and be vulnerable. So Jay, as we sort of go towards the last like quarter of the podcast, what steps did you take to be vulnerable? Because, as men, I think this is something that, and eventually I'm going to write about it. I'm still trying to get my thoughts out about, masculinity in the modern world. Cause there's a big push towards being like a pig head and I don't talk politics really ever, but like the Trump side of things, which is not the kind of man you want to be. And there's, a softer side that we've seen, in like the early 2000s, there was a big push on that. And it kind of swung back towards the alpha side. And now it's kind of coming back to find that middle. But how can men open themselves up to be vulnerable? Because you're right, we're not going to get what we want out of sex or out of a relationship if we don't communicate. So what are some steps you did to open up and be more vulnerable with your partner that made your life and your relationship better?
Well, first of all, it was nothing to do with my partner. I had to do it on my own because I had a couple of pretty bad failed relationships that, took me out of commission, I guess just mentally for a while. And then you step back and you realize, like, what did you do? And honestly, my marriage before Sarah, I cheated on my wife. And, I readily admit that. I screwed up. And that wasn't, our marriage wasn't that great to begin with, but she didn't deserve that. And there's no way she did. But nevertheless, what happened was this, I didn't feel confident enough in myself. I wasn't happy with myself at all. I wasn't really, and the outside people look at me and say, dude, this guy, you're making decent money, you're, doing what you love. But, in order to really be happy with myself, I had to kind of take a lot of time to be with myself. So after our marriage dissolved, then, I broke her heart, obviously, in the process, which is not good. But nevertheless, it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. Because I was able to actually just learn and go to therapy and find out what made me happy. Who was I as a person? What did I need? Because I've always went from girlfriend to girlfriend to girlfriend. I never had any time to be really alone. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want to keep that cycle going and keep fucking relationships up. Because if you don't really find out who you are by yourself, and every relationship you're going to be in is going to be codependent. Because you're thinking to yourself, I cannot be alone. I have to have somebody. Even if it isn't directly codependent, you're just going to be codependent in some way because you're afraid to be alone. So I had to learn how to not be afraid to be alone. So I did it. So at first it was pretty goddamn scary for me. Because I'm sitting there like, I'm never going to find anybody. I'm going to be alone forever. And it's shit that goes through your head. And, people might say this and look and say, well, you're out of your mind. When someone finds out, you always find somebody, but when you're going through this stuff, you don't always think about rational thoughts. It's all irrational behavior. It's all like these thoughts pop in your head and they're irrational, but you run with them. So I had to learn how to actually like myself first, and I had to learn how to love myself. So once I learned how to really respect myself as a person and actually say to myself, you do deserve happiness. Like, no matter what you did in your life, you deserve to be happy. It's like your path doesn't define you. Who you used to be doesn't define you. It's what you do going forward that defines you. So, I mean, you can't change anything that happened in the past. I can't look back. I got a past that's a little bit weird in some places, but that's the way it is. But I can't change that. I can't go back and say, well, if I could do all over again, I wouldn't do this. It's impossible. So I had to stop beating myself up for certain things. And I had to move on. And I had to, forgive myself. And, sorry, it's kind of a tough conversation to have. But, so I had to kind of move on from that stuff and understand that I deserve to be happy. So once that happened, then I started dating again. And then I started, I had a couple failed relationships, but they weren't catastrophic. It was just girl that dated. We didn't work out. We moved on. No blood, no feeling. No blood, no harm, as you say. So then, meeting Sarah, that kind of, first, just everything. I wouldn't say we had any rocky points. We never really did. It was always really good. But we definitely had our own barriers to overcome, respectively. She had trust issues from a previous relationship, and I had trust issues yet because of being afraid to be hurt. Mm-hmm. So when we kind of worked them out in our own heads while we were dating, and then we moved in together and then got married. So for me, I think in order for people to really learn how to be vulnerable, they have to really learn how to love themselves. They have to, because if you don't like yourself as a person, you're not ever, 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 ever going to let somebody else like you that much.
Yep. Dude, Jay, thank you for opening up and being that vulnerable, with me on that, because that's something that I love what you said, that your past doesn't define you. What you can do in the future is what's going to define you, the actions you take now. And I think so many of us get trapped in the past, and we get in those relationships where, we define ourselves by our past successes or our past failures, and we don't look at ourselves because we're trying to find happiness in others. But the key is you have to find happiness in yourself. There's a guy I'm a big fan of. He's a psychologist out of the University of Toronto named Jordan Peterson. And one of the things he says is look, all these millennial kids, people want to change the world, but they can't even clean their own room. Before you can change the world, you need to start by cleaning your own room. And that's kind of it's kind of an allegory for clean yourself. You have to fix yourself before you can go out and fix the world. And I think that's an important thing to sort of leave people with is look, wherever you are in whatever relationship, doesn't matter. You've got to fix you and find you. And it's a lifelong thing. You're always going to be doing it. But if you can't fix the big things and start making strides in that, you're never going to make someone else happy, because you're going to try and find that happiness in them, and then you're putting all your problems on them.
Exactly. Look, you're exactly right. Everybody's always a work in progress. Nobody's ever perfect. But if you have some major issue got to be rectified, you got to fix that shit. You got to before you move on to somebody else. And exactly what you're saying. To carry on your point about the clean your own room first, you see a lot with people who are actively involved in charity. They have a lot of issues in themselves. They're not married. I know a person from friends of mine who do charitable work, and you see sometimes some people may not have the best lives, and they may not be the best person, but they do charity work, so they're giving back in some way. So they're kind of for them, it's a self-correcting manner, or they're trying to fix themselves by doing work for other people. And I get that whole concept, and it's awesomely noble to me. But then I think to myself, it's some of that effort you could spend on other people could be spent on yourself.
Yep.
Because the biggest charity that we have, and I'm not trying to sound like a selfish jerk when I say this, it's not about being selfish. The biggest charity you have is yourself. Because if something's wrong in your life, or something's wrong with you, and you can recognize something's wrong, now if someone's telling you oh man, you're fucked up, you got to fix yourself, because we're never going to listen to that. You have to come to grips with the fact that you have to fix something. So if you come to grips and you have to fix something, or you don't like something that's involved in your life, or something that you're doing in your life is causing a situation to go out of control, that's the biggest charity you can do right there, is take care of that.
Yep.
So
Well, Jay, I have enjoyed chatting with you over the last hour, and I think it always ends up where like we just drop some straight fire at the end of an episode. Like you got to listen through the whole thing because like all the really good stuff comes right at the end, and I think you've left this off with some great points about fixing yourself first and being vulnerable and opening yourself up and getting beyond the mistakes that you made in the past and really making changes. Jay, if people want to know more about you, where can they find you on the internet?
Well, my website, ashman&nbsp.com, which is needs to be updated a little bit more. And but really, the thing that's kind of taken off for us, the whole Pump Dump Hump group on Facebook, which is Pump Dump Hump. I mean, that's one thing that I'm really proud of because it goes beyond. As I get older, I'm going beyond fitness a little bit. So I kind of go beyond, like you've been in the group, you see what it's like, where it's kind of going beyond fitness. It's going into more personal building, health, and relationship building. And I think that has more of an impact in people's lives than just fitness alone. Yeah. So we do it in a fitness roundabout way. So, but it's all geared on improving who you are as a person internally and externally. So if I would say probably the best thing to learn about me and about what I really am like would be go to pumpdumpump.com, join the group. I approve you up and have part of the conversation. I get to actually kind of learn more about me. But the website itself is just there for general knowledge.
Cool. Well, I'll have links to all that as well and a link to Pump Dump Hump on Facebook as well, so people can hop in there and request to join. It's a fun group. There's a lot going on and a lot of really cool conversations. And I think you're right, Jay, that fitness, I think for myself has changed my life and helped me become a business owner and help open me up to a lot of things. But I think even beyond that, it's allowed me to start looking at my own life. And I think that's the next thing. Like my first side quest, being the video game nerd that I was getting myself in shape. Now the next quest is working on my mental stuff, my relationship with my wife and improving all of that, just in general. So guys, I'll have all those links, and everything over at sidequestfitness.com/Jay Ashman. Jay, thank you so much for coming on the show, brother.
No problem. Thank you, Robbie. I really appreciate it. I had a good time.
Step up and you gotta get it fitness. Host Rob at the moment and the quest is you gotta check it and wreck it. You're breaking personal records and with the help of the guests you won't be guessing on the lessons. That's a +5 fierce. Got a low-key bamf right here. You wanna meet him, there's no better way to greet him than to strike a boss pose. Take a look into the mirror.